The footsteps echoing through the hospital corridor were quicker than usual. April Wilson had been carrying an unsettled feeling ever since receiving a phone call from her father. "Miss Wilson, you look lovely today." An elderly patient greeted her with a gentle smile as she passed the nurse's station. April paused, returning the smile warmly. Tucking a strand of her long brown hair behind her ear, she responded softly, "Take care." Her gesture carried the composure of a veteran nurse with 7 years of experience. The simple scrubs she wore suited her petite 5'3" frame, and her subtle makeup and neat appearance gave patients a sense of security. Today, however, a shadow lurked behind her usually serene expression. "Dad." In the break room, April let out a deep sigh while staring at her cell phone screen. A message from her father glowed on the display. "We're having a family meeting tomorrow. Catherine will be there too." The mention of her sister's name for the first time in 3 years made her chest tighten. Outside the hospital windows, the autumn foliage of Mount Auburn Hospital signaled the deepening fall. Her thoughts drifted back to this same season 3 years ago. Catherine, her complete opposite. Model, tall, with flashy blonde hair, always dressed in luxury brands with heavy makeup, she thrived in the spotlight. As a high-end real estate agent, she cultivated relationships with the upper class and flaunted her lavish lifestyle on social media. Then there was Michael. Just thinking of her ex-husband's name sent a jolt of pain through her. A rising cardiologist on the fast track to success, Michael had always cut an impressive figure. Tall and lean with refined features, his expensive suits and effortless charm made him the envy of the hospital staff. But beneath that polished exterior lay a calculating, domineering nature. Their father, Joseph Wilson, was a mild-mannered yet strong-willed doctor. With graying short hair and a warm gaze, he had built a distinguished career as a cardiac surgeon, saving countless lives. He was supposed to be enjoying a quiet retirement now. So why this sudden family meeting? Since losing her beloved mother 3 years ago, their family dynamic had fractured. Her mother had been a kind, devoted woman who, despite battling rheumatoid arthritis, cared for her family until the very end. Why would Catherine, who had abandoned their mother's care and stolen April's husband, return now? "April, could you help with blood draws on the 4th floor?" A colleague's voice pulled her back to reality. She stood up quietly, her serious and sincere nature evident in her every movement. Her thoughtfulness, a precious trait inherited from her mother, had always set her apart. As she gazed out of the hospital window, the evening sky carried an unshakable premonition of tomorrow. The underscore 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 underscore, all in caps KRE. Underscore underscore. R as in rabbit. Doesn't it sound like an underscore? Ma. Underscore. April had first met Michael in Mount Auburn Hospital's cafeteria 5 years ago, in the spring. "Is the seat taken?" he had asked, flashing a charming smile in his crisp white coat during a crowded lunch hour. That moment marked the beginning of their story. As a rising star in the cardiology department, Michael was well known within the hospital. Their casual conversations during breaks, their occasionally overlapping shifts. At first, they had been mere coincidences. But over time, they became something more, intentional, meaningful. Inevitably, they had developed into a serious relationship. "How about dinner?" Michael had finally asked one evening, his deep gaze locking onto hers. April had felt slightly nervous at the fancy Italian restaurant, unused to the multi-course meal, but Michael's gentlemanly demeanor put her at ease. Weekends were spent strolling along the Charles River or admiring art at the Boston Museum, their romance blossoming under the envious gazes of others. "I've been waiting for someone as sincere as you," he had whispered the night he proposed. It was at a quiet restaurant near Harvard Square, the glow of city lights reflecting in the window. Outside, the maple leaves swayed gently in the autumn breeze. Tears rolled down April's cheeks as the autumn wind danced around her, the soft rustling of leaves a quiet witness to the moment. Michael placed the ring on her finger, sealing their vows in a small, intimate church. The wedding was blessed by both families, and as April stood in her pure white gown, her mother smiled through her tears. Catherine, ever the composed maid of honor, wore a somewhat reserved smile, but looking back now, April could sense there had always been something calculating in that expression. Their newlywed life seemed to be the perfect picture of the American dream. Every morning, April lovingly prepared lunch boxes, and on holidays they enjoyed brunches together. The simple joy of shared moments filling their home. The apple pie she had learned to bake from her mother quickly became Michael's favorite. Their vacations in Cape Cod, where they spent their evenings gazing up at the starry sky, seemed to promise eternal happiness. But, as with all things too perfect, the bliss didn't last. The first signs of change were subtle, like the soft flicker of a candle about to go out. Michael started coming home later and later, and even on holidays he would head to the hospital, claiming that important surgeries needed his attention. His complaints about her home cooking started to surface. "I wish we could eat at fancy restaurants like Catherine does. As a nurse, you can't keep up with my social circle. Catherine has better taste than you, don't you think?" April endured the harsh words, desperately trying to hold on to the love they once shared. Every household chore became her responsibility. Dining out meant expensive restaurants, and the credit card bills piled up. Still, she carried the burden silently, convinced that love would keep them together. But then, things worsened. Her mother's condition began to deteriorate. Severe rheumatoid arthritis interfered with her ability to do even the most basic tasks. Catherine, always the one too busy with work, left April to handle the caregiving alone. "I'm very sorry, but visiting hours are over," the nursing staff told her time and time again. But April couldn't leave her mother's side. She took on both the role of nurse and daughter, using her professional knowledge to assist with positioning, feeding, and daily care. "April, you're staying so late." Her mother's weak voice barely reached her ears. She forced a smile, trying to keep up appearances, even as her energy was drained by the double duty. Balancing work and caregiving was far more demanding than she had ever imagined, but it was her love for her mother that kept her going, through the sleepless nights and long shifts. Meanwhile, Michael's attitude grew colder with each passing day. "Pay attention to me sometimes. Why don't you just leave the caregiving to a facility?" Those conversations became routine, and April found herself slowly breaking under the pressure. Then came that day, the one that shattered everything. After working overtime, April was heading to her car in the hospital parking lot when she saw two familiar shadows. They were embracing in a luxury car, Michael and Catherine. The sight hit her like a slap to the face. "Oh my, did we get caught?" Catherine's loud laughter echoed in the cold night air, while Michael, his face defiant, simply said, "Well, it's over. Let's get divorced." The divorce was one-sided. Michael demanded hefty alimony, while Catherine slandered April to anyone who would listen. The pictures of them dining at expensive restaurants appeared constantly on social media, mocking April's quiet life. "Did you really not know? Everyone else noticed. A plain woman like you could never satisfy Michael." Catherine's words echoed in her mind, each one laced with venom. They stung like poison needles, leaving a deep, lasting mark. Soon after, her mother passed away. The fatigue and emotional distress had taken their toll, and her condition worsened rapidly. In her final moments, her mother whispered an apology. "I'm sorry." But it wasn't for April. It was for the betrayal that had come from Catherine and Michael. Catherine didn't even bother to show up at the funeral. From that day forward, April left the family home and started living alone in a small, modest apartment. It was clean and simple, chosen for its proximity to the hospital. The evening sky outside her window was dyed crimson, signaling the coming of winter. 3 years had passed since then. The wedding ring had long since disappeared from her finger, replaced by a keepsake ring from her mother. The Cambridge streets outside her window whispered the quiet approach of the cold season. As April sat in the taxi, heading toward her family home, she reflected on the past 3 years. On life alone in a small apartment, on the changes that had broken her. The weight of everything she had lost settled heavily on her chest, and yet, there was a strange sense of relief, too. She had survived. And now, as the city glimmered under the fading light of the day, she couldn't help but wonder what would come next. Days passed monotonously in her small apartment, consumed by relentless 12-minute shifts at the hospital. Occasionally, April would catch glimpses of her sister and brother-in-law's extravagant lifestyle on social media. Lavish parties, luxurious apartments, European vacation photos, and snapshots flaunting their newest foreign cars. It almost felt as though they were posting these images deliberately for her to see. That family looks so happy. What a perfect couple. April would quietly scroll past the numerous comments, never engaging, never reacting. Contact with her father had dwindled to monthly phone calls and brief visits on birthdays. It was during one of those calls that he had gently suggested, "Focus on healing your heart for now." April had taken those words to heart, choosing to maintain her distance. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "I want to have a family meeting. I've contacted Catherine." April's heart jolted. Predictably, the sister couple's response was immediate. Catherine wasted no time booking a suite in a luxury hotel, while Michael began reaching out to lawyers. They seemed certain that the meeting would revolve around inheritance. As April's taxi pulled up in front of the family home, she felt a strange mix of nostalgia and apprehension. The Victorian-style house, built in the 1920s, still retained the dignity she remembered. Enclosed by white fences, the garden stood dormant in preparation for winter. Her mother's cherished rose bushes were neatly pruned, waiting for the return of spring. Her steps felt heavy as she approached the entrance. Yet the moment she stepped inside, she sensed something was different. The living room, though familiar, carried subtle changes. And in her father's beloved study, a new file cabinet stood against the wall. On the computer screen, multiple PDF files were open, and on the desk, neatly arranged stacks of documents caught her eye. Among them, April could see bills from her mother's care facility. "It's glad you could make it." She turned to find her father standing there. His salt and pepper hair and warm gaze remained unchanged, but his expression held a new kind of resolve. In truth, he had been quietly gathering evidence for the past 3 years. Hospital security camera footage, unpaid facility notices, copies of her mother's diary, records of Catherine's cold, dismissive messages, and an extensive collection of social media posts documenting the couple's extravagant lifestyle. Today's the day to reveal everything. As he spoke, the doorbell rang. The sharp clack of expensive high heels echoed through the hallway, followed by 2 voices laced with arrogance and mockery. "Still single? Hey, ugly. Hasn't changed a bit." April's body tensed, but her father remained unwavering. The Wilson family living room retained its old dignity. Family photos lined the walls, and the soft strains of Air on the G-string, her mother's favorite classical piece, played gently in the background. The faint scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air. Catherine and Michael, now settled into the largest sofa, behaved as if they owned the house. Catherine crossed her legs, lightly swaying her designer heels, while Michael glanced around with an expression of bored indifference. April sat in a single chair, her posture composed, her gaze lowered. Her simple dress reflected the same modest presence she had carried 3 years ago, but this time there was something different in her eyes. A quiet strength. "Father, I've consulted with lawyers about the inheritance," Catherine began, her voice laced with artificial sweetness. The word inheritance made April's brow furrow slightly. "Yes, we've been thinking about the future," Michael started, but their father cut him off by quietly standing up. "Perfect timing," he said. "I have something important to discuss." His voice, though calm, carried a firmness that silenced the room. The evening light fell over his graying hair, adding to his solemn presence. At that moment, Catherine's smug smile wavered, and Michael's arrogant expression flickered with unease. They exchanged uncertain glances. "First," their father said steadily, "let's talk about my condition." The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. "I have terminal pancreatic cancer." A heavy silence fell. 3 months to live. Tears glistened in April's eyes, though she had already known. Meanwhile, Catherine and Michael's expressions shifted dramatically, shock, agitation, and calculation flashing across their faces. Michael's trained medical eyes immediately grasped the gravity of the diagnosis. "Father, we'll take care of you," Catherine hurriedly offered, her voice slightly unsteady as she attempted to regain control. Her lips trembled beneath her flawless makeup. Yes, I can provide the best treatment, Michael added quickly, trying to reassert his position as a doctor. But their father simply raised a hand, silencing them. It won't be necessary. Slowly, he walked to his study. From a drawer, he retrieved a thick envelope, sealed with a notary's stamp. I want you to see this. The sound of the envelope tearing open was unusually loud in the silent room. Catherine's voice cracked. These are records of your mother's care expenses. Their father spoke calmly, setting documents on the table one by one. Catherine, records of care facility payments you embezzled. Michael, falsified medical certificates. Evidence was laid bare before them. Security camera footage, unpaid notices from the care facility, copies of their mother's diary. Catherine's dismissive text messages, and countless social media posts documenting their extravagant lifestyle. And that's not all. Their father turned the computer screen toward them. I also have records from the day your mother passed away. The screen displayed security footage from the hospital, the color drained from Catherine's face. Cold sweat formed on Michael's forehead. You left your mother to die. Their father's voice was low, weighted with sorrow and fury. And then lived luxuriously with that money. Outside, the snowstorm intensified. Inside, the fire flickered in the fireplace, casting shadows across the room as their father continued, presenting evidence with the meticulous precision of a seasoned cardiac surgeon. Let's start with the care expense records. He spread out stacks of bills from the Mount Auburn care facility, 3 years' worth, chronologically arranged. Catherine, you received $5,000 per month for your mother's care. His tone remained unnervingly calm. But no payments were actually made. Unpaid notices, red-lettered warnings, and records of facility staff concerns were revealed one after another. Their mother had not received the care she needed. This must be some mistake. Catherine's voice shook. The cracks in her perfect facade were beginning to show. It's no mistake. Their father turned the computer screen again. These are your bank records. Transaction logs filled the screen. Care funds funneled into personal expenses, luxury brand purchases, overseas vacations, car loans. The undeniable proof of their lavish lifestyle, recorded in cold, irrefutable data. His gaze shifted to Michael. And you were complicit. Next appeared hospital records. False medical certificates, reports deliberately understating their mother's condition, documents minimizing her care needs. As a doctor, Michael's voice faltered. The battle between his professional pride and his exposed misconduct twisted his expression into something unrecognizable. And this, their father said, reaching for one final item, is the decisive evidence. A diary. Their mother's final days, recorded in her own handwriting. Today I tried calling Catherine again, but she refused to answer. I can't burden April anymore. As their mother's words were read aloud, tears streamed down April's face. I consulted Michael, but he wouldn't listen. The pain in my heart hurts more than my physical pain. Catherine's once perfect makeup was now ruined, expensive mascara streaking down her cheeks. There's more. The next image on the screen was hospital security footage from the day their mother was in critical condition. The timestamp was clear, unforgiving. Catherine and Michael, laughing, arriving at a luxury restaurant. Their father's voice, though quiet, carried the weight of absolute condemnation. Do you remember what happened that day? For the first time, emotion flickered across their father's face. Mother waited for you both until the very end. April's memory drifted back to that day, the stark white hospital room, their mother's weak breathing, and her unfulfilled final wish. But we had work. Catherine's excuse barely qualified as words anymore. Work? Their father quietly opened a file on the computer screen. Look at this post. The screen displayed a social media update from that very day. Having the best night ever. Michael's face turned ashen. Their father reached for a final envelope. Thick, heavy, bearing a notary's seal. This is my will. As the document unfolded, Catherine and Michael's expressions froze. Our assets will be inherited by April. The air in the room grew impossibly heavy. And I've set conditions for you both. their father continued, standing with quiet authority. An apology at your mother's grave, full repayment of the embezzled care expenses. He paused. And the funds I had prepared for my treatment will all be donated. Catherine shot up from her seat, her designer handbag slipping to the floor. That's illegal. We have inheritance rights. Rights? Their father's gaze pierced her sharply. Rights for those who abandoned their mother? Michael's face twisted in panic. His position as a doctor, his social credibility, everything was unraveling. We have lawyers. Legally, Their father cut him off with chilling composure. All evidence is already stored in multiple locations with lawyers and prosecutors. The weight of those words crushed the room into silence. You have two choices, he stated. Accept the conditions, or... The rest did not need to be said. Outside, the snowfall thickened, blanketing the world in white. The warm winter days, once shared as a family, now seemed like a distant dream. Their mother's beloved brooch gleamed under the dim light. Its presence a quiet finality. Underscore, 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 underscore. Underscore, 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 underscore. S dash underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. Autumn dash underscore 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 underscore. Lee underscore underscore underscore. Dash underscore 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 under. 1 year later, April had moved into her father's house, stepping into a new chapter of her life. In the garden, the roses were beginning to bloom again. The flowers her mother had once cherished were vibrant, filled with life. Miss Wilson, congratulations on becoming head nurse. Her reputation at Mount Auburn Hospital had grown steadily. With 7 years of experience and unwavering dedication, she had earned the trust of her colleagues and patients alike. Gratitude followed her wherever she went. Your care back then helped me recover, Miss Wilson. Each time she heard such words, she thought of her mother, the woman who had shaped her, who had embodied both gentleness and strength. The final 3 months with her father had been irreplaceable. Caring for him had been demanding, administering medications, preparing meals, balancing work and nursing. But every moment had been filled with love. April, shall we look at the album? One peaceful afternoon, her father had pulled out an old photo album, his voice laced with nostalgia. Snapshots of a younger mother and father, little Catherine and April on the beach at Cape Cod, family photos in front of the Christmas tree. Each page was a portal to happiness. You are our pride, mine and your mother's. On a serene spring morning, bathed in soft light streaming through the window, he passed away peacefully. In his hand, he held a photograph of their mother. Meanwhile, Catherine and Michael's lives had unraveled completely. They defaulted on their luxury apartment mortgage, unable to maintain their lavish lifestyle. Michael's reputation at the hospital collapsed, and, unable to endure the whispers and cold stares of his colleagues, he was forced to transfer to a small countryside clinic. The once flashy social media updates disappeared. No more designer labels, no more European vacations. Catherine's real estate sales plummeted, and one by one, her high society connections drifted away. Their relationship, once built on shared indulgence, crumbled under the weight of blame. This is all your fault. You're the one who wasted money. The last time April saw them was at their mother's grave. Per the conditions of the will, they had come to apologize. Their former arrogance had vanished, replaced by hollow resignation. April stood in silence, watching them. There was no hatred left inside her, no anger. Only a quiet sense of irony, the weight of karma playing out before her eyes. Now she stood in the garden of her family home. The fragrance of blooming roses drifted through the warm spring air. She sat on her father's favorite bench, basking in the golden afternoon light. On her hand, her mother's keepsake ring gleamed softly. Planting new flowers is a way to give form to my thoughts of her. Tending the garden means preserving our family's history. Cooking means carrying forward my mother's love. In these small daily acts, she had found true healing. Dad, Mom, I'm happy. April's quiet voice floated into the spring air. Thanks to you both, I can live strongly. Please keep watching over me. The gentle melody of birdsong answered her. The newly sprouted flowers swayed lightly in the breeze. Past anger and resentment had dissolved into quiet strength. The past was no longer a burden, it was a lesson, a precious experience that had helped her grow. From inside the house, Air on the G-string, her mother's favorite piece, played softly. April looked up at the sky, a peaceful smile on her lips. The spring light embraced her warmly, whispering of new beginnings. Life has taught me that love and loyalty are not always reciprocated, but true strength lies in how we rise after betrayal. I learned that family is not just about blood, but about those who stand by you in your darkest moments. My mother's unwavering kindness and my father's quiet resilience have shaped me into the person I am today. Through pain and loss, I found clarity. Justice comes in its own time, and karma never forgets. Now, as I tend to my mother's garden, I realize healing is not about forgetting, but about transforming pain into strength. If you ever feel broken, remember this. The past does not define you. How you choose to move forward does.